Hi everybody and welcome back to the lecture. Today we're going to be focusing on another research lecture today. And specifically I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about how to write a literature review. For many of you this might seem like a daunting idea, especially being as it is so early in the semester, but trust me, you guys have done this before. We've just called it something different. Maybe a final end of the semester research paper. But really, a literature review, once you learn how to do it, is not a scary proposition. It's just something that you need to get started on rather early in order to give yourself an adequate amount of time to get it completed. So with the more traditional research papers that you guys write for us sometimes at the end of the semester, what that requires you to do is sort of look at a bunch of information, formulate a brand new argument based on what you have found. And one of the things that traditionally is in these research papers is a mini literature review. And what a literature review basically is just all of the background information that other scholars have found on a particular topic. So you want to use that research as a foundation for your argument or as a foundation for the research that you yourself are going to do, and it will help inspire you in different ways that you can contribute to the general field of knowledge. So when we're talking about a literature review, what we're talking about is a paper or a section of a paper that works to synthesize the general scope of information surrounding a topic, right? So it's sort of summarizing prior information, but it's not adding anything new. The new information that you yourself are going to add comes later on in the paper, but what this does is for the reader, it gives you all of the upfront relevant background information that you need to know that helps tie into the research that you're going to conduct yourselves. So if you're trying to come up with something fast or quick, or you just want the reader to have a brief look or a brief introduction to a specific topic, a literature review is where it's at. That's giving you all sort of the nuts and bolts of a topic without requiring your reader to read all of the original books and manuscripts focused on that topic. It's your job as the writer to sort of synthesize this information in a cohesive and concise way for your reader. So as you're moving into your research part of it, it also gives you, the author, credibility that you have gone back and looked at the general body of information and you're now advocating for your own work. So it's all about the background information, and it's a cohesive sort of examination, but it's also an essential examination that is vital to research papers. Without it, it sort of emphasizes our research in the incorrect way. If you haven't taken the time to figure out what has been done before you, how do you know that you're not doing something that someone else has already done, right? You're not trying to maliciously copy someone else's work, but if you don't do your due diligence, that's what it looks like to the research community. Because on any given topic, there might be hundreds of research papers, there might be several books on this exact topic, and if you're doing something that somebody else has already done, what are you adding or what are you contributing to the general field of knowledge? So the narrower your topic, the better off you're going to be, because it won't be so difficult trying to find all this background information. Especially if it's an understudied topic, you won't have as much literature to comb through, and that also adds to the value of your ongoing project, because you're able to say, well, this is so new and so innovative that hardly anybody over here is looking at it, but look at what I can contribute because I'm doing some groundbreaking stuff over here. So when we're talking about different disciplines, the harder sciences, right, you're probably not going to find a whole lot of different research on the different ways to make water, right? We already figured out how to make water. There's not going to be that much literature or groundbreaking information on something that is pretty much a scientific fact that has concrete evidence behind it. But when we're talking about something in the social sciences, we're talking about people. And people evolve, people change, our behaviors are different, our thought processes differ as we grow and evolve as individuals. So when we're talking about some of the social sciences or the humanities, information could be sort of obsolete in comparison to some of the harder sciences. But that being said, in some of the harder sciences, they do a lot more experimentation, and especially once you get into the medical field, that is new and evolving pretty much on a daily basis. So we're obviously talking about criminal justice, so we're in the humanities, we're in the social sciences, and we have a lot of background information that is pretty static and sort of unchanging. So if we look back at the history of policing, for example, everybody's sort of on the same page, or everybody's pretty much on the same track as to what historic policing looked like historically. But if you talk to people today, everybody has a different idea on what would make a police officer effective. They need more training in this area. They need more resources over here. There's a growing body of research that is focused on these new, innovative, different techniques that say 10 different things, right? So the history of our field is pretty stable, right? But moving forward, that's where the growing body of literature sort of expands outward and it becomes more of a cluster. So our field might say 10 different things, and it's your job to try and interpret what's happening research-wise for your project moving forward. So as you're doing this, obviously your literature review needs to be organized. It needs to be centered around ideas. It needs to be centered around themes. But you shouldn't organize your literature review in the same way that you would organize an annotated bibliography. So it's not like I found these 3 sources. Here's what source 1 says. 2, 3, 4, 5. You don't list them. You're trying to intertwine the arguments and say, this is the consensus among this group, and then this group differs, and here's why, and then that ties into this topic down here. You need more of a flow to the structure of your paper rather than just a bullet point listing of what researchers have said in previous articles. So once you have this focus to your paper, or once you sort of know where your paper is headed, you have to state it clearly and directly up front. You have to figure out what is the best way to present this information with an argument that is interwoven based on your current research and what the state of the field is doing. So what are some of the general topics that you want to include? What are some of the subtopics that you want to include, right? So let's say your topic is policing. That is not a topic in this class. The policing itself is not a general topic. But let's say that is your topic for the paper. And then you're going to have subtopics that focus on police brutality. We're going to focus on race. We're going to focus on Terry stops. Like there's a whole bunch of different subtopics that you could focus on within a general paper on policing. But policing is too broad of a topic, right? It's just, you can talk about so many things and you could write books and books and books on policing. So you probably want to start with a more nuanced topic and then find those subcategories of information that you want to include underneath them. So how are you going to present them? You need to organize it, as we've already talked about, and do so based on categories. So from the very start of this paper, what would be generally useful to you guys is to create an outline, and then that way you can have an organizational flow. And one of the things that I've actually provided for you on Canvas is sort of it's an outline of sorts, but it goes into more detail of what I expect you to include in your papers. So what I would say to you is to take my outline and then tailor it to your specific topic and figure out how you're going to include all the things that I'm looking for while still keeping true to your topic. But just like all your other academic papers that you write for me, a literature review in and of itself is going to have an introduction, a main body, and then a conclusion. It's just going to be a little bit different because it's part of this larger paper. So when we're talking about the introduction, you're really introducing me to your topic. There's going to be a little bit of background information, but it's sort of the segue starting point into the main body of literature that you're talking about. The body of the paper obviously is all the things that we've already talked about in terms of background information, research, things that other people have done on your topic. And then your conclusion is going to be, I won't say like a traditional conclusion, but instead what it's going to be is a short synopsis of what you've covered, and then you're going to make a strong tie-in to your research. So here's all the stuff I've already covered, but what's missing is this. And this is how I'm going to fill in that gap with my research project. So later on in the semester, you will have the opportunity to go back and edit your literature review, and that might be one of the things that many of you need to include in later on. How the background research focused on this topic helps to aid in the development of your own research project. Okay? So let's see, is there anything else? Okay, oh, I know what I want to talk to you guys about. Okay, so on Canvas, the other thing that I have available to you, because I have different resources. I have an actual manuscript that myself and my writing partner have produced. But in this week's module for on Canvas, what I have done is I've provided you with a research article written by Andrew Denny and Richard Tewksbury. And the actual article itself is titled How to Write a Literature Review. Very clever title. And in it, those two gentlemen are going to teach you how to write a literature review. So what they're going to do is go into a lot more significant detail about what a literature review is. They'll talk to you about how to look up relevant information regarding your topic, how to sort of organize the paper and the arguments, and how this exercise is just going to be really beneficial for you in the long run in terms of the development of your own research, because that's our next phase of the project. So I want you guys to all read that article before you actually start reading the paper. It's an excellent resource, and I'll know, like, if you don't read that article, I will know, and I'll see how confused you get down the line. So read this paper because it's going to help clarify a lot of things for you guys in terms of what it is you should be doing. It will be just an excellent guide to help you work through the organizational structure of the assignment and sort of follow the trajectory rather that they advocate for as you're laying out the organization of your paper. So the other thing that you can do in order to figure out how a literature review is organized is to look at pretty much any other piece of peer-reviewed research that is out there, because as per APA formatted standards, every research article you'll look with starts with a general introduction to the paper, and then the next thing in that paper is going to be a literature review. So you would probably look for a header that says something to the effect of background information, literature review, prior literature, something like that, but it's going to be the first section of the paper that comes immediately after the introduction. And you can sort of see how other scholars have formulated their literature reviews, and you should follow or try to mirror the organization. And what I'm saying to you here is not that you should plagiarize, okay? This is not me telling you to plagiarize someone else's material. What this is me saying to you is that in the field, within the discipline, we all follow this recipe, okay? Think of it just like you're cooking. You need this many ingredients, you need to add them in this order, and then that's the end meal you get. Your manuscript is your dinner. So think of your literature review as part of the ingredients that you need to cook with in order to come up with your dinner. So mirror the format and the organization of someone else's literature review. Don't mimic the exact information, okay? So it's not an excuse to plagiarize, it's just how to organize the actual section of the paper. So I know that this might sound daunting because you're thinking, oh, I have to write a paper. And it's a substantial paper in terms of length, but really this is an easy exercise, okay? If you look at the Denny and Tewksbury piece, if you look at other literature and follow that format, and if you look at my final paper outline guide for you guys, and you use all of these resources to your advantage in writing the paper and you don't go into this cold or blind, then this really becomes an easy exercise for you. I've given you a lot of really good tools that will help guide you beyond what I can talk about here. So it becomes an easy process in that way. But I totally understand if this does sound daunting to you, because many of you have not written a traditional research paper start to finish this way before. So if you guys have any questions or you feel like you're getting stuck, remember that I am a good resource to you, but within UT Tyler itself, we have the Writing Center, and the Writing Center, those folks are phenomenal at their jobs and they'll help get you unstuck. Also remember that the library is a good resource if you're stuck looking for actual literature, books, articles, peer-reviewed sources like that, because you need to have these approved sources. This is not an exercise in going in looking at what the media is saying, looking at NBC News or MSNBC, whatever it is that you follow, right? That's not what this is about. We're looking at academic peer-reviewed research, and those are the resources that you guys should be using, okay? So if you get stuck, remember you only have so much time to be able to do this paper. You will get to incorporate this feedback into the final version of the paper, but you will be graded on the actual literature review itself, and you do not have weeks and weeks and weeks to delay on this project. So you need to get started probably yesterday. But if you haven't gotten started already, you need to get started like right now. Okay, so please go start researching, start writing, come up with that outline, and if you have any last second questions, comments, whatever, get in touch with me and I'll try and help you as much as I can. But otherwise, guys, I really look forward to the literature reviews that you guys are coming up with, and I'm so excited to see how these are going to help translate into the growing body of research that you guys are going to do for me this semester. So I'm probably a little more excited than you are, but either way, we're getting it, right? Week 3, research is plentiful. Literature reviews are coming. So go write. Stop listening to me. Go write right now. Bye, guys. I'll see you later.